For centuries, the Galactic Council had ruled the universe. It was an alliance of powerful alien species, each more advanced than the next. Their fleets of massive warships controlled entire star systems, and their influence stretched across galaxies. The Council's laws were followed without question, and any planet that did not comply was swiftly dealt with. They saw themselves as the supreme beings of the universe, and they acted with an air of superiority that no one dared challenge. Earth was one of the planets that had long been under the Council's thumb. The Council viewed humanity as a primitive species, isolated and backward. They saw Earth as a resource to be exploited, with little regard for the lives of its inhabitants. For years, Earth's leaders had resisted the Council's demands, hoping that diplomacy would save their world. But the Galactic Council was not interested in diplomacy. They wanted control, and humanity's refusal to obey was seen as a threat to their dominance. The Council's first move had been subtle, a series of trade deals that slowly drained Earth of its resources. The world's leaders had protested, but they were powerless against the advanced technology the Council used to manipulate their economy. Once Earth's natural resources were nearly exhausted, the Council demanded more land, more minerals, and more labor. It became clear that the humans were being pushed to their breaking point. But Earth's leaders had one final card to play. They knew that the Council's true plan was to strip their planet of every last bit of value and leave it a desolate wasteland. And so, the humans began to resist in small ways, hacking the Council's communications, sabotaging their supply chains, and hiding the few remaining resources that they had. However, the Council didn't take these acts of rebellion seriously. They dismissed them as the desperate attempts of a weak species, not worth their time. They had seen planets rise and fall, and they were confident that Earth would be no different. They were wrong. One cold, clear day, the Galactic Council made its decision. They would send an armada to Earth, massive warships filled with soldiers, weapons, and technology far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. The goal was simple: to annihilate the human race and take whatever was left. There would be no negotiation, no mercy. Earth would be erased from the galaxy's map, and the Council would take what they wanted without resistance. As the ships were prepared and the fleet readied itself for departure, Earth's military scrambled to respond. It was hopeless, they thought. How could a small planet like Earth, with outdated technology, stand against such a force? But the humans had not given up yet. They had something the Council didn't expect: the will to survive. The first sign that something was different came when the Council's fleet arrived near Earth's orbit. Sensors picked up unusual activity, but the fleet was confident it was nothing more than an anomaly. They saw Earth as nothing more than an insignificant speck in the vast universe. What they didn't know was that Earth was not alone. Over the past few months, small groups of human scientists and military strategists had been working in secret, uncovering strange artifacts buried deep beneath the surface of the planet. These artifacts had been discovered during excavation projects in the Arctic. At first, no one knew what they were or where they came from. But as the human researchers began to study them, they realized they were something far older than Earth itself. They were relics from a race that had long since vanished, an ancient civilization whose technology was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The humans had been quietly studying the artifacts, reverse engineering them, and making incredible breakthroughs. The technology was unlike anything the Galactic Council had ever encountered. Energy weapons, advanced propulsion systems, and even gravitation manipulation, things Earth's scientists had never dreamed possible, began to take shape. As the Galactic Council's fleet entered Earth's orbit, they noticed something strange. The planet's energy readings were spiking, but they dismissed it as a result of local atmospheric conditions. They didn't realize that humanity had begun to tap into the power of the artifacts. The humans were not defenseless after all. They were preparing for a fight. The first strike came unexpectedly. Ships belonging to the Galactic Council were suddenly attacked. The fleet's supply ships, vital to their mission, were destroyed one by one, leaving the invaders confused and frustrated. There were no signs of human military forces, no radar signals or communication intercepts. It was as if Earth itself had come alive to defend its people. The Galactic Council began to panic. How could this be happening? They had underestimated humanity. But now, the Council's carefully laid plans were falling apart. The humans, it seemed, had a secret weapon, but they didn't know the full extent of it yet. As the fleet hovered above Earth, ready to strike, the Council did not yet realize that they were about to face something far greater than their arrogance had ever imagined. The humans, the so-called weaklings of the galaxy, were about to show the universe what it truly meant to fight for survival. As the Galactic Council's massive fleet hovered above Earth, humanity's true preparations were still hidden. The Council, confident in their overwhelming superiority, did not realize that Earth was not as defenseless as they believed. For years, the human race had been quietly gathering strength, developing technologies they had no idea existed. Deep within secret military labs and isolated research stations, Earth's scientists had made an astonishing discovery: a powerful artifact buried beneath the ice of the Arctic. The artifact had been found by chance during an excavation project. It was ancient, far older than any known human civilization, and its origin was a mystery. The scientists who first uncovered it could not understand its full significance, but they soon realized that it was not just a relic. It was a powerful piece of technology, something unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Its energy readings were off the charts, and its material composition was beyond anything Earth's technology could create. At first, the scientists were cautious. They studied the artifact in secrecy, unsure of what to expect. But as they began to experiment with it, strange things started happening. The artifact seemed to respond to human interaction, almost as if it were alive. It began to hum with energy, and that energy started to change the world around it. The humans who worked with it found themselves becoming more alert, more focused, their minds sharpened in ways they had never experienced before. As they continued to study the artifact, they discovered something even more incredible. It was not just a source of energy, but a key to understanding and manipulating the very forces of the universe. The artifact allowed them to tap into gravitational fields, control electromagnetic forces, and harness energy in ways that defied all known laws of physics. With this newfound knowledge, Earth's scientists and engineers began to develop technologies that far exceeded anything the Galactic Council could imagine. They kept these breakthroughs hidden from the world's governments and military leaders, working in secret to develop weapons and defenses using the alien technology. The humans were not just building stronger weapons, they were changing their own bodies, enhancing themselves with the power of the artifact. It was not just about technology, it was about evolution. Earth was transforming, and the humans who had been oppressed for so long were now becoming something much greater. The first signs of this new strength came when the Galactic Council began its attack. The Council had sent its elite force, the Scythians, to lead the invasion. These beings were known throughout the galaxy for their advanced technology and intelligence. They were experts in warfare, with weapons and ships that could destroy entire planets. They believed that Earth would be an easy target, but when they arrived, they were shocked. As the Scythian ships descended toward Earth, they expected to encounter weak human defenses, perhaps some old-fashioned weapons or primitive anti-aircraft systems. Instead, they found themselves confronted by a powerful energy shield that surrounded the planet, something the Council had never seen before. Their weapons, designed to pierce even the toughest defenses, were useless against the shield. The Scythian fleet attempted to break through, but every attack was repelled. The Scythians quickly realized that Earth's technology had changed, but they did not understand how. They assumed it was a temporary glitch in their calculations, something they could fix once they landed on the planet's surface. However, the shield held, and Earth's defenses only grew stronger as the days passed. Meanwhile, the human scientists, now fully aware of their new power, continued to experiment with the artifact. They discovered that it could enhance not only their machines, but also their minds and bodies. Some humans began to develop extraordinary abilities: superhuman strength, enhanced intelligence, and the ability to manipulate energy and matter. These abilities were not the result of genetic manipulation, but were a direct result of their connection to the artifact. It was as if the humans had become attuned to the very fabric of the universe itself. As the Scythian ground forces prepared to land on Earth, they were met with another surprise. The humans, using the newfound power from the artifact, had developed weapons that could level entire cities in seconds. But instead of using them in a direct assault, the humans adopted a more tactical approach. They used their newfound abilities to outsmart and outmaneuver the invaders. They deployed small, highly mobile strike teams that could appear and disappear at will, using the very forces of gravity and energy against their enemies. The Scythian soldiers were confused and disoriented, unable to track the humans as they moved with incredible speed and precision. The Galactic Council had no idea what was happening. Their intelligence networks reported strange disruptions in their plans, but they did not know where the attacks were coming from. The Council's commanders, accustomed to absolute control, were now facing something they could not understand: a planet of humans who were not only fighting back, but were now becoming stronger by the day. And yet, the Council still believed they could crush the rebellion. They underestimated humanity, as they always had. They did not know that Earth's true power had just begun to awaken. The artifact had only begun to reveal its secrets, and soon, humanity would prove that it was not a weak and helpless species. The fight for Earth's survival had only just begun. The Galactic Council, once confident that their invasion of Earth would be an easy task, had begun to realize that something was wrong. The humans, whose technology they had dismissed as outdated and weak, were proving to be far more resourceful and resilient than expected. Earth's defenses, once thought to be nothing more than primitive, had become an impenetrable barrier. The shield that surrounded the planet was unlike anything the Council had ever encountered, and their attempts to breach it were met with failure. But the real surprise came when the first wave of the invasion began. The Scythian ground forces, armed with the most advanced weapons and technology, landed in Earth's major cities, expecting to face little resistance. Instead, they were greeted with a fierce counterattack. As the Scythian soldiers disembarked from their ships, they were met with a barrage of energy blasts that knocked them off their feet. The energy was unlike anything they had ever seen: intense, focused, and powerful. The blasts came from all directions, seemingly out of nowhere. The Scythians had not expected the humans to be able to use such advanced weaponry, let alone with such precision. It was as if the planet itself had come alive to defend its inhabitants. The Scythians tried to regroup, but the humans were ready. Using the energy weapons developed from the artifact, human forces launched their own counteroffensive. The weapons were powered by the very energy of the artifact, and their power seemed to grow with each strike. The humans had learned to manipulate the forces of gravity and energy, using them to create devastating weapons that could cut through the Scythian armor with ease. At first, the Scythians believed it was a fluke. They couldn't understand how Earth's primitive military forces could have developed such advanced technology in such a short time. Surely, it was a coincidence, a temporary glitch. They underestimated the humans once again. The Scythians had expected to crush Earth's resistance with their overwhelming firepower, but instead, they were being forced to retreat. As the Scythians regrouped, human forces continued to strike, using hit-and-run tactics that left the invaders confused and disoriented. The humans were not fighting with brute force alone. They were using their new powers to outthink and outmaneuver their enemies. Small, highly trained teams of soldiers appeared and disappeared with incredible speed, using the powers of the artifact to bend the laws of physics to their advantage. Some soldiers could manipulate gravity, allowing them to move faster than the eye could see. Others had learned to harness energy, turning it into powerful weapons that could disable entire squads of Scythian soldiers in an instant. The Scythians had never faced such an unpredictable enemy. They were used to overpowering weaker species with ease, but Earth was different. The humans were not just fighting back. They were adapting and evolving at an astonishing rate. It was as if they were being powered by something greater than themselves, a force they did not understand. The Galactic Council, watching from afar, was in a state of disbelief. Their intelligence reports had told them that Earth's military was no match for the Scythian forces. But now, as they watched their elite troops struggle against the humans, they began to question everything they thought they knew about Earth. They had underestimated the human spirit, and now they were paying the price. Desperate to regain control, the Council ordered a full-scale assault on Earth's capital cities. They believed that by capturing the human leaders and forcing Earth's surrender, they could end the resistance once and for all. But even as they sent wave after wave of soldiers, the humans continued to fight back with unwavering determination. The humans had something the Scythians did not: a will to survive, a drive to protect their home and their way of life. It was something the Galactic Council could not understand. In one of Earth's largest cities, a fierce battle raged on. Scythian soldiers advanced through the streets, blasting their way through buildings, but they were met with fierce resistance at every turn. Humans, armed with energy weapons and enhanced by the artifact, fought back with an intensity that shocked the invaders. The city was a maze of narrow streets and towering buildings, perfect for the humans' guerrilla tactics. The Scythians found themselves struggling to keep up, unable to anticipate the humans' next move. As the battle continued, the humans' attacks grew more coordinated. It was clear that Earth's military, once disorganized and outgunned, was now operating with precision and skill. The Council's fleet, which had initially believed this would be a quick victory, now found itself bogged down in a war of attrition. The longer the fight continued, the more the Council began to realize that Earth was not just resisting. It was fighting back in a way that no one had expected. By the end of the first wave of attacks, the Galactic Council's forces had suffered significant losses. The humans had inflicted damage on their ships, destroyed their ground troops, and taken control of several key locations on Earth. The Scythians, once proud and confident in their superiority, were beginning to show signs of retreat. The Galactic Council, watching from their distant command center, knew that Earth was no longer the weak, defenseless planet they had once believed it to be. The humans had shown that they could fight back, and they were not going to stop until their world was free. The Galactic Council had made a grave mistake, and it was one they were beginning to regret. The Galactic Council was shaken. The unexpected resistance from Earth had caught them off guard, and their forces, once thought to be unbeatable, were now struggling. For centuries, the Council had dominated the galaxy, bringing countless civilizations to heel. They believed their superiority was undeniable, and no species, no matter how primitive, could stand against their might. But Earth had proved them wrong. The humans, with their resourcefulness and determination, had done what no one thought possible. They had stood up to the Council's invasion. As reports of the battle's progress reached the Council, leaders from across the galaxy gathered in their grand chamber. The mood was tense. The once proud members of the Council, the Scythians, and their allies, were not used to failure. They had long been the rulers of the galaxy, and now they were forced to question their authority. "This cannot be," said Praetor Xylos, the leader of the Scythians. His voice trembled slightly with disbelief as he looked at the damage reports. "Earth cannot be this powerful. It is an insignificant world. We are the supreme force in this galaxy. How could they possibly be holding their own against us?" "We underestimated them," replied General Varnak, the Council's military strategist. His voice was calm but filled with frustration. "Their resistance is more organized than we predicted. They have weapons, advanced weapons, far beyond what we thought possible for a species like theirs. And their tactics are unpredictable. They are using the terrain to their advantage. turning the battlefield into a trap for our forces. The room fell silent as the leaders pondered the situation. They had seen many worlds fall before their might, but Earth was different. The human resistance was not just about weapons. It was about something deeper, something the Council had failed to understand: the power of will. The Council's leaders tried to make sense of the situation. They had sent their finest soldiers and their most powerful warships to crush Earth's defenses, but every plan had been met with failure. The Scythians' ground forces had been pushed back, their ships damaged, and their soldiers captured. Even more troubling was the fact that the humans were not just defending, they were attacking. "We need to end this quickly," Praetor Xylos insisted, slamming his fist onto the table. "If we do not crush this rebellion soon, we risk losing control of the entire galaxy. These humans are a threat to our reign." Despite Xylos' anger, the Council was in a difficult position. They had underestimated the humans, and now they were dealing with a force that refused to surrender. But they still had one advantage: numbers. The Council could call upon an army of millions, and they still controlled much of the galaxy's resources. It was a dangerous mistake to make, but one they were willing to take. "We need to deploy the Dreadnought," said General Varnak, his voice steady. "It is the ultimate weapon. No force in the galaxy can withstand its firepower. With it, we will annihilate Earth's defenses and bring them to their knees. There will be no more surprises." The Dreadnought was a massive warship, equipped with devastating weapons capable of obliterating entire planets. It was the Council's most powerful weapon, and it had never been used before. The decision to deploy it was not made lightly, but the Council's leaders believed that the time had come. Earth had proven itself to be a thorn in their side for too long, and they would not allow it to stand as a symbol of defiance. As the Dreadnought made its way toward Earth, the Council believed the end was near. They expected the humans to crumble under its might, just as every other species had. But what they did not know was that the humans had something they did not: a deep, unshakable determination to protect their home. On Earth, the fight raged on. The human forces, now united and stronger than ever, continued to push back against the invaders. They had made significant gains, retaking key cities and striking at the heart of the Council's forces. But the arrival of the Dreadnought changed everything. Its massive size and power made it a formidable opponent, and it seemed unstoppable. The humans, however, had learned from their previous battles. They had seen what the Council's forces were capable of, and they knew that the Dreadnought could not be defeated with sheer strength alone. They needed a plan. They needed a way to outthink their enemies. As the Dreadnought entered Earth's atmosphere, the human forces scrambled to prepare. They knew that they could not win with traditional tactics. The Dreadnought was simply too powerful. But they had something the Council didn't: the ability to adapt. The humans had learned to harness the artifact's power, and they had begun to understand its true potential. They knew that the artifact could do more than just power weapons. It could manipulate the very forces of the universe. The humans began to work in secret, using the artifact's power to create a weapon capable of taking down the Dreadnought. It was a risky plan, but it was their only hope. As the Dreadnought drew closer to Earth's surface, the human forces made their move. The Galactic Council, meanwhile, remained overconfident. They believed that their victory was certain. But what they didn't realize was that they had made the same mistake again. They had underestimated humanity. The humans were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for something far greater. And they were ready to show the galaxy just how far they would go to protect their world. The Dreadnought was now in Earth's atmosphere. Its enormous size cast a shadow over the cities below. With its arrival, the Galactic Council believed the end was near. The weapon was designed to wipe out entire civilizations, and Earth's resistance had already been pushed to the brink. They thought it was only a matter of time before the humans would be crushed beneath its immense power. But what they didn't realize was that Earth's people had been preparing for this moment, and they had a plan, a last, desperate gamble that could either save them or doom them. As the dreadnought prepared to launch its destructive weapons, the human forces gathered in secret. The artifact, which had been a source of strength for the humans, had given them an edge, but now it was their only hope. It held the power to manipulate the very fabric of the universe, and they had learned to harness it. The humans had been working on a plan for weeks, something that had never been tried before. Their target was the dreadnought itself. While most of Earth's forces fought to hold back the invaders on the ground, a small group of the most brilliant minds on Earth worked in a hidden underground base. These scientists and engineers had been studying the artifact nonstop, learning how to control it with precision. They had discovered that the artifact could not only enhance physical abilities and energy, but also manipulate gravitational fields on a large scale. The human engineers had developed a weapon that could use this power to pull the dreadnought out of orbit, rendering it useless. It was a risky move. The dreadnought's shields were stronger than any other ship in the galaxy, and even with the artifact's power, there was no guarantee the humans could disrupt them. But it was the only chance they had. If they failed, Earth would be lost. The plan was set into motion. In the middle of the night, a fleet of human ships took off, heading straight toward the dreadnought. They were not there to engage in a direct battle. They were there to get close enough to use the artifact's power. A specialized team, led by Captain Sarah Williams, was on board one of the ships. She was one of the few humans who had fully understood the artifact's capabilities and had trained herself to use its power. As the human ships approached the dreadnought, the Scythian fleet began to prepare for an attack. They expected another wave of resistance, but they had no idea what was coming. The dreadnought's weapons powered up, its massive cannons aimed directly at the planet below. But just as it was about to fire, the human fleet executed their plan. Captain Williams and her team activated the artifact, and the energy surged through the ship. It was as if the fabric of space itself was bending. The humans had learned to manipulate gravity, and now they were using it to pull the dreadnought out of its orbit. The dreadnought began to shake, its engines struggling against the invisible force pulling it downward. For a moment, it seemed as though the ship would break apart under the pressure. The Scythians on board the dreadnought were in chaos. They had never experienced anything like this before. Their technology, designed to be the most advanced in the galaxy, was now struggling to maintain control. The dreadnought was losing altitude, and the human ships were getting closer. The Scythian commanders scrambled to activate their defenses, but they were too late. The gravitational pull grew stronger, and the dreadnought was pulled toward the ground. Back on Earth, the people watched in awe as the sky above them began to tremble. The dreadnought, once a symbol of the Galactic Council's power, was now falling. It was a moment of hope, a glimpse of victory, but it was not over yet. The humans knew that this was just the beginning of the final battle. They had disrupted the dreadnought, but the Scythians still had other ships and forces in orbit. They could not afford to relax. As the dreadnought plummeted toward Earth, the human forces on the ground launched their final attack. The Galactic Council's remaining troops, disorganized and demoralized, struggled to hold their ground. The humans were everywhere, their enhanced abilities giving them the edge they needed. Soldiers moved faster than the eye could see, and energy weapons fired with deadly accuracy. The Scythian forces were being overwhelmed. Captain Williams, now leading the charge, pushed forward with her team. They fought with all the strength the artifact had given them, pushing back the invaders at every turn. The humans were no longer just fighting for survival, they were fighting for their future. The very forces of the universe were now at their command, and they were determined to show the galaxy that Earth was not a planet to be ignored. But the dreadnought was still falling. As it got closer to the ground, the humans knew that they had one final task: to prevent the ship from crashing and causing destruction on a massive scale. With the artifact's power, they focused their efforts on controlling the fall, guiding the ship toward a safe landing site. In a final surge of energy, the dreadnought crashed to the Earth's surface, but the humans had managed to control the impact. The ship landed with a powerful thud, shaking the ground beneath their feet, but it was intact. The humans had won. The Galactic Council's once feared weapon was now a pile of twisted metal, its power broken. The humans had not only stopped the dreadnought, they had shown the galaxy that Earth was a force to be reckoned with. The battle was far from over, but Earth had just made a statement. The Council had underestimated them, and now they would learn the hard way that Earth was not a planet to be taken lightly. The crash of the dreadnought sent a shockwave across the battlefield. For a brief moment, the Earth's forces stood in stunned silence, watching as the once invincible warship lay on the ground, its massive form smoking and twisted. The Scythians had lost their most powerful weapon, and the humans had proven that their will to survive was stronger than anything the Galactic Council could throw at them. But as the dust settled, the reality of the situation began to sink in. This was far from over. The fall of the dreadnought had not broken the Galactic Council's will. The Scythians still controlled a fleet of ships in orbit, and they were far from defeated. They were angry, frustrated, and determined to make Earth pay for its defiance. As the human forces celebrated their victory over the dreadnought, the Galactic Council was already planning their next move. In their grand command center, Praetor Xylos paced angrily before his council. His face was a mask of rage and disbelief. The humans had caught them off guard. Again, they had underestimated the strength and adaptability of Earth's people, and now they were paying the price. But Xylos was not one to accept defeat. He would make Earth regret its rebellion. "We have lost the dreadnought, but that is not the end," Xylos declared, his voice cold and commanding. "We still control the skies, and we will use every weapon at our disposal to crush this planet. We will teach these humans that resistance is futile." General Varnak, standing by his side, nodded. "We still have the fleets in orbit. The humans may have won a battle, but the war is far from over. We will strike with everything we have." The Scythian fleet, now more determined than ever, began its preparations. They knew that the humans had gained confidence, and the longer they fought, the more dangerous Earth's forces would become. The Council needed to make a decisive move, one that would cripple Earth's defenses once and for all. But what the Scythians didn't know was that the humans were not resting on their laurels. They had already begun to plan their next move, using the time gained from the fall of the dreadnought to regroup and strengthen their defenses. The battle for Earth was about to take a new turn. On the ground, Earth's leaders held an emergency meeting. Captain Sarah Williams, having led the team that had taken down the dreadnought, was among them. She had seen the damage that Scythians had caused, but she also knew that Earth had a unique advantage. They were unpredictable. The Scythians had been used to conquering worlds with overwhelming force. They had never encountered a species like humanity, one that could adapt, learn, and fight back in ways no one had expected. "We need to take the fight to them," Captain Williams said, her voice steady and determined. "We've proven that we can stand up to them on the ground, but we can't just wait for their next attack. We need to go on the offensive." General Harris, an experienced military strategist, nodded in agreement. "She's right. We have the technology now. We have the artifact. If we can harness its power, we might be able to take down their fleet. We need to stop them before they regroup." The humans knew they couldn't win with brute force alone. The Galactic Council had far more resources, far more ships, and far more soldiers. But the humans had something that no amount of firepower could match: their ingenuity, their unity, and their determination. With the artifact, they now had a weapon that could give them an edge. In secret, Earth's brightest minds worked around the clock to develop new weapons and strategies. They studied the artifact, refining their ability to manipulate its energy. What they discovered was incredible. The artifact could not only enhance their weapons, but could also be used to create shields that could block the most powerful energy blasts. With this knowledge, Earth's forces began to build a new kind of defense, one that could withstand even the most advanced attacks from the Galactic Council. As the Scythian fleet prepared for its next assault, the humans made their move. They launched a surprise attack on one of the Council's smaller ships, a vessel that was responsible for coordinating the fleet's movements. Using their newfound abilities with the artifact, the humans infiltrated the ship, disabling its weapons and communication systems before the Scythians could even respond. It was a bold strategy, but it paid off. With their command ship disabled, the Scythian fleet was thrown into disarray. Ships that had been coordinated for a large-scale attack were now scattered, vulnerable to a well-organized counterattack. The humans, having learned from their previous battles, struck quickly, using hit-and-run tactics to disable one ship after another. The Galactic Council's fleet, once so confident, was now in retreat. Earth's forces had shown that they could take the fight to the skies. As the humans launched their assault, it became clear that the Scythians had underestimated them once again. But the battle was far from over. The Scythians still had their upper hand in numbers, and they weren't ready to give up. They regrouped, preparing for their next wave of attacks. The humans had won some important victories, but the war was not yet decided. Captain Williams stood with her team, watching as Earth's forces continued to press the attack. "We've turned the tide, but we can't stop now," she said. "This is our chance to push them back for good. We have to stay focused, stay united, and show them that Earth will never surrender." As the humans pressed their advantage, they knew that the final battle was approaching. The Galactic Council might be retreating, but they would not be defeated so easily. The humans had won some battles, but the war was still up in the air. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and only time would tell if the humans' determination would be enough to push the invaders back once and for all. The air was thick with tension as the battle for Earth reached its climax. The humans had fought bravely, defying every expectation, but the Galactic Council's forces were not ready to give up. They had regrouped, and their resolve was as strong as ever. Both sides knew that this final confrontation would determine the fate of Earth, and perhaps the future of the galaxy itself. On the ground, Earth's forces had been preparing for this day. Captain Sarah Williams and her team had led the charge, and now they stood at the forefront of the final assault. The humans had developed new weapons and strategies, but they also knew that the power of the artifact was their greatest asset. It was their trump card, the one thing that had given them the edge in every battle so far. "We've come a long way," Captain Williams said, her voice calm but filled with determination. "But this is it. This is the final push. We have to make it count." Her team nodded, knowing that this was their moment. The Scythians had underestimated them at every turn, but the humans had always come through. They had shown the galaxy that they were not to be taken lightly, and now they were ready to deliver the final blow. The Scythian fleet hovered above Earth, their ships glimmering ominously in the sky. The Galactic Council had brought its full might to bear on the planet, determined to crush the humans once and for all. But what the Scythians didn't know was that Earth's forces had been planning something truly audacious. They had gathered every last piece of technology, every weapon, every soldier, and now they were ready to strike. The humans launched their attack, the skies above them lighting up with bursts of energy as their ships fired on the Scythian fleet. This was no longer just a defense. It was an all-out assault. Earth's forces had learned to use the artifact's power to create shields strong enough to block the Scythians' most devastating weapons. Now they used that same power to fuel their offensive. With every shot fired, the humans sent a clear message to the Council. They would never surrender. The battle raged for hours. The Scythian fleet, despite its overwhelming numbers, began to falter. The humans had caught them off guard once again. The Scythians had expected a quick victory, but instead they found themselves facing a force unlike anything they had ever encountered. The humans were relentless, and with every victory, their determination only grew stronger. In space, the humans' most advanced ships took the fight directly to the heart of the Scythian fleet. Their maneuverability, combined with the artifact's power, allowed them to slip through the enemy's defenses with ease. The humans struck with precision, taking down Scythian warships one by one. The Council's forces were beginning to panic, unsure of how to respond to the humans' unexpected tactics. On the ground, Earth's soldiers were also making their final stand. The Scythians had tried to breach the planet's defenses with ground forces, but they had underestimated humanity's ingenuity. The humans used every advantage they had, from advanced weaponry to their knowledge of the terrain. They fought fiercely, pushing back the invaders at every turn. As the battle continued, Captain Williams and her team made their way toward the final objective, the Scythian command center. The Council's leaders were still coordinating the attack from a heavily fortified base on Earth's surface. It was their last stronghold, and the humans knew that taking it down would cripple the Council's ability to wage war. If they succeeded, Earth would be safe. If they failed, the planet would fall. The final assault was brutal. The humans fought their way through the Scythian defenses, using everything they had learned from their previous battles. The artifact's power pulsed through them, enhancing their strength and focus. They knew that this was their last chance to defeat the Council and protect their world. As they reached the command center, Captain Williams and her team faced their final challenge, the Scythian leaders themselves. The Council had underestimated humanity at every step, and now, in the final moments of the battle, they would learn just how wrong they had been. The Scythian leaders, seated in their command center, watched as the humans approached. Their faces were grim, knowing that this was the end. They had never imagined that Earth's forces could be so strong, so determined. But they had made a fatal mistake. The Council had believed that their superiority was invincible, but they had never accounted for the human spirit. With a final surge of energy, Captain Williams and her team broke through the last line of defense. The Scythian leaders had no choice but to surrender. The humans had won. The battle was over. Earth's forces stood victorious, but the cost had been great. The planet had been scared by the war, and many lives had been lost. But in the end, the humans had proven their strength. They had shown the galaxy that no force, no matter how powerful, could break their spirit. The Galactic Council had been defeated, and Earth had secured its future. As the dust settled and the last of the invaders were driven off, Captain Williams stood looking out over the horizon. The war was over, but the fight for Earth's future had just begun. They had defeated the Council, but now they had to rebuild, to ensure that the galaxy would never forget the strength of humanity. Earth may have been small, she said, her voice filled with pride. But we're not going anywhere. We are the future. And with that, the humans knew that they had not only defended their home, they had changed the course of history.